Fellow board members, distinguished guests, honorable chairs and delegates, esteemed members of the International Court of Justice, a warm welcome to you all. My name is DISminiMUN and I'm currently attending class of 2021 at the Leda International School in Genoa. It is a great pleasure of mine to be in the executive board of this first edition of DISminiMUN. These are times of great uncertainty, owing to the new coronavirus disease, a global pandemic which has infected more than 5 million people worldwide. It is in times of great uncertainty that we discover resilience, and resilience often leads us to new opportunities. Perhaps DISminiMUN can be an example. As you may have noticed, scrolling through the participants, many of you come from different backgrounds, schools, nationalities. This precious diversity would have never been possible in an ordinary MUN conference. As the lockdown imposed on us a time of change in our duties, in a way, the experiences, feelings, and emotions we passed through as students could be considered equal. My school was closed as many others around the world. So we, the students, were compelled to work at home with our teachers through our computers. I'm certain that this experience has pointed out how new technologies have improved our way of life. But at this point, we also have to consider the great inequalities in our society. Not all of us have the opportunity to have free access to the internet, and not all schools have the same equipment. This pandemic has highlighted the true weaknesses of our society, from economic disparities to racial and gender inequalities. It is in times of great uncertainties that we can start building the path to a brighter future. And the brighter future should be based on values such as fairness and justice. This is why I believe in the importance of this conference and human rights. I wish you all the most fruitful debates. Thank you. We'll now entertain speeches from the keynote speakers. I'll now yield the floor to Barbara Grosso, assessore alle politiche culturali, politiche dell'istruzione e politiche per i giovani del Comune di Genova. As we could not reach the assessor, we now yield the floor to the headmaster, Professor Alberto Damiani.
Thank you, Davide. Good morning. I hope you can hear me. Good morning and welcome. I just want to say very few things. I will be quick, I promise, so I leave you to your beautiful conference. First, an apology because I have not learned how to be formal in these occasions, and it's entirely my fault. But I wanted to welcome you to this event that has been organized so well by our students. And so I wanted to acknowledge their leadership. So thank you, Alice, Vittoria, Virginia, and Davide for organizing this conference. I am so very proud of you guys, as I am proud of all of you who are present today. Schools are closed, and we are facing one of the greatest emergencies of the last century, I would say, but yet you are here. Schools are closed, but you want to learn. Schools are closed, but you want to come together. This almost moves me to tears. I was in school a few days ago, and it was saddening to see it empty, but now I have the chance to see you. Thank you to this conference. So congratulations. The second thing I want to say is a recommendation. As an educator and as a teacher, I want to remind you to care about knowledge. There are way too many opinions out there on the internet, in the news. You hear people saying what they think. Nothing wrong with that. Freedom of speech is very important, and we have come a long way to to gain it, but remember that knowledge is important and should be valued. So please speak about what you know, speak about what you're passionate about, and learn how to become inquirers and researchers, because we need more researchers in this world. We need more science, we need more knowledge. The third thing that I want to say is a little request. Please stop blaming others for what's going on in your life, in your personal life, in your community, in your country, in the world. It's too easy to point a finger and say it's their fault. It might be their fault, but what are you doing about it? Okay, so there is no need for more conflict, not even now. And I am sure that an occasion like this, with this conference, will give you the chance to think about how to resolve conflict. And so again, I want to congratulate you for coming together and having this goal in your life. The last thing I want to say for today is a wish. I wish that you learn how to become compassionate, truly compassionate. It's not enough to say, oh, poor them. Oh, I'm so sorry for them. What are you doing for them? What are you doing for the next person? What are you doing for yourself? To be compassionate means to take action. To be compassionate means to become empathetic toward others. And your others are your family, your friends, but also the members of your community, people who live in your country, people who live in other countries. They also need your help and your action. So again, congratulations for the organization of this conference. I wish you 2 fruitful days of debate, and I give the floor back to the Master of Ceremony. Thank you.
I'll now yield the floor to Riccardo Taddei.
Oh, yes, good morning, delegates. Let me introduce myself at first. I'm Riccardo Taddei, and I'm lately a former student at the Leiden International School, and now an actual prospective international relations and organization student at the University of Groningen in the Netherlands. Outside academic engagements, I have been involved for some years in international associations and some humanitarian NGOs, specifically global student associations and also international foundations, advocating for human rights, children's rights, and education in impoverished areas. It is a pleasure and an honor for me to be present at an event that actually succeeds several MUN events that I personally supervised during my time in high school. I'm also grateful to see how my younger fellow schoolmates have decided to pursue this initiative, especially in these turbulent times and against all odds. So to the whole secretariat actually goes all my admiration and gratitude for organizing this online event. Today and tomorrow you will be discussing very challenging, varied, and I think intrinsicate topics. They span from the situation in Yemen, basic needs at the times of global emergencies like COVID-19, and also up to essential freedoms and liberties of peoples in LEDCs and less privileged situations. I have no doubt about the quality that will transfer from your discussions and resolutions, and I have always considered myself as a great supporter of the educational value of MUN throughout my 6 years experience. Anyhow, I think that as in life, we should strive to put into reality and concrete action what we have been doing and practicing in simulation. This is why I believe that the ultimate aim of MUN is to give all of us, and this has been true from my personal experience, the means and methods to take our engagement to the next level, meaning to move from the discussion of global issues to the real tackling of global issues. Of course, you won't end up working at the UN when you're 18, but we must always stick to our minds that we can always tackle global issues also from our homes and our workplace desks. You have many possibilities. They're all varied and very interesting, but no one will ever be correct in indicating your hypothetical engagement with an international NGO working for children's rights as not aiming to tackle global issues. You will be making a great difference on other lives in any case. I moreover firmly believe that This approach of seeing and doing things actually depends on a more profound reflection on our way of seeing reality and considering the value of humanity and human principle that we will be discussing during these 2 days. So we should first come across the general topic you will be discussing here, human rights. And it is minimalistic to indicate human rights as the most abstract concept for our own human perspectives, but yet as the most concrete and pressing need of our times. Human rights are the essence of any civil society that can attribute to itself that adjective, civil. And without respect for the human individual, no society can actually progress, address, and tackle issues, or let alone prosper. Ultimately, change can't be consolidated and change can be permanent. And it is the most pivotal aspect when basic human rights are segregated to a second order role. And we see that too much often during these days and in our times. Anyhow, empty words and substanceless rhetoric often, if not always, as we know, are segregated to a second order, and that is actually what we see in our modern world. So just empty words that resound, recalling the importance of human rights. But then where stands the difference, and how can we disrupt the equilibrium to transform the words that have been resounding since the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights into real action and real everyday life commitment? It is simple as our human nature. It is up to us and only to us to decide what comes first for us and when we want to put the individual at the center of our actions. And equally, we must be firm in our perception of reality and the world around us. The way in which the world is distorting today, being constantly affected by growing mistrust, denial of basic principles, and human concepts is more than ever a danger. Also due to the enormous amount of information we receive every day. And that is where we are confronted with the reality and the choice we can make in whether being subjugated by the growing mistrust and inhumanity, we can say, or rather go against the current and set the course for what will sooner or later become change, and hopefully permanent change. So going against current is no way easy, both in personal and public life and actions. But going against current consolidates commitment, it consolidates perseverance and determination in achieving your aims. And these aims can be anything, from your personal life aims, in your personal life, in fact, to the grandest objectives of achieving enduring change in our society. So where people halt and stand back before the greatest issues or challenges of our global community, only those who go against current actually often succeed. Those who then go beyond limits, beyond expectations and common norms and habits, they ultimately achieve the enduring and prosperous change that I've recalled throughout this passage. Surely this way of life, as I personally see it, applies to everything, as I said, in life. But when this way of seeing things and seeing the world and seeing others applies to the well-being, the progress and human nature of individuals, then we cannot receive greater world, I think, in knowing that we have put ourselves at the service of others and at the service of humanity and prosperity of our community. As the late Secretary General of the UN, Kofi Annan, put it, we are all on the same boat, and whatever may happen, no first or second class tickets or places on that boat that can replace the value of humanity and lately our common fate and destiny, which solely depends on us and the way of living I've just illustrated. Going beyond limits, expectations, and needs for enduring and prosperous change in all habits of your life, wherever you may end to and wherever you may go to work or live, this will forever apply. Therefore, I have tried to get your attention on the ways in which MUN help you to develop your personal vision of life and how it can help you in succeeding to transform the discussion of issues in concrete and real action to the service also of those who need you and those who are suffering. Equally, you have the choice to decide how you want to see the world and how you want to lead your actions. And this we often forget. In all ambits of life, to work in an industry or to serving as the highest charge in a world organization, going against the current and beyond limits won't be ever easy, but will make you succeed. And where others stop and decide to revert their priorities, often at the disadvantage of human rights and basic human principles. This will give you ever and always the possibility to choose the way in which you see reality, approach to it, and transform the empty words and rhetoric, often resounding about human rights, as I said, that is always so repeated and resounded, into real action, making you a master of change, enduring and prosperous change that will be constantly nourished by your unbreakable will to have your own way and be at the service of others and humanity. That will be the case. That said, I have no hope not to have bored you too much. I hope to have inspired your approach to today's and tomorrow's simulation, in which I am sure you will be able to test your ambition and determination in tackling global issues. So I wish you all fruitful discussions and inspiring debates, as well as all the luck for your personal and future ambitions. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Riccardo Tosai, for your speech. I'll now yield the floor to the last keynote speaker, Antonio Picelli, Foundation President.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for inviting me. And as chairman of the steering committee of the Fondazione Fulgis, let me welcome you all and thank you for your attendance. So, human rights, and I see in the program of this assembly that the improvement of press freedom and the freedom of speech are, for instance, mentioned. But I would like to submit to you all how fragile human rights are, and that we have had the confirmation about this in this period of the virus, because we have seen that something which we neither could see in advance nor actually see in our lives, the virus itself has shattered rights that we gave for granted. The right to go to school, for instance, which perhaps students do not appreciate in full at the present time, but during their life certainly will come to realize how important a period was. Or the freedom of simply going around in our cities, of seeing friends. So we now realize that human rights need to be sustained. So we have to work for them, basically. We have to defend everybody's rights by upholding our own. And we have seen something else, that crisis, like the virus, but like violence, like lack of rights, like poverty, do not know either gender or race, do not know if we are white, black, yellow, perhaps coming from Mars, or if we have a family, or if we are single, nothing. Things show that all people are the same before a problem. So, what would be my suggestions so as not to drag my intervention too long? I would like again to submit to you that how to cope with the fragility of the rights which we actually take for granted, and we shouldn't, is to use our own mind. So we have to think. You have actually to think, because you are the new generation. You're going to inherit, literally speaking, the world in a few years. My friend, Professor Alberto Damiani, whom I take the occasion to greet and to say hello, is a bit younger than myself, but in a few years will be retired, will be somewhere else. Well, not too soon, I hope, but anyway, the world will be yours. So use your mind, be inquisitive, do not take things for granted. Take the news that we receive by way of the newspapers, but mostly by way of the web. Think over that. Use your own judgment. Do not take things for granted. Apart from your family and your teachers, who is telling you the truth? And how do you manage, and I'm nearing the ending of my intervention, and how do you manage to have the instruments, to have the tools to use your mind? Well, actually, you may think that I'm trivial in saying so, but it is by studying, by doing your job, basically, as students, by getting a better, as a good person as you can. So use the schools, use the teachers, use the knowledge that they give them. It's not something that puts you in either in competition or in some way as opponents to the teacher. They are there to help you. Take their help, become a better person, so that your mind today and the world actually tomorrow can be yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your speech. I'll now yield the floor to the Under Secretary General of this conference, Vittorio Lombardo.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, for the floor. Distinguished guests, main directors, fellow board members, honorable officers, dear delegates, members of the International Court of Justice, staff, security, and press, good morning. This year, I have the honor to serve as Under Secretary General in our first DIS conference. My name is Vittorio Lombardo. I'm 16 years old, and I'm currently attending the third year of high school at the Leda International School in Genoa, Italy. Firstly, I would like to thank everyone who made possible this conference, main directors, officers, and all members of the executive board. When I needed something, you were always there to help me, and I have my fellow colleagues. I thank my Secretary General and my co-Under Secretary General. Together, we managed to overcome all the obstacles in order to guarantee a fruitful debate to our esteemed delegates. I had a big part in the creation of this conference, together with my fellow colleagues. We had decided to focus our attention on UN human rights, and I think during this difficult time we can see and hear about not having the freedom of anything. Moreover, since we're dealing with this deadly virus, my colleague and I added a topic in SOCOM, ensuring the resilience of the poor and reducing their vulnerability to COVID-19. I would like to focus your attention on two topics that are close to my heart. The first topic is the second topic of UNESCO, measures to improve women's education in LADCs. And the second one is the first topic of Security Council, women issue in North Korea. Women across the world continue to suffer from gender inequality, including child and forced marriage, gender-based violence, sexist violence, as well as barriers to participation in education and employment. Achieving gender equality globally is crucial to development goals, reducing human suffering and solving our biggest environmental problem. As you all know, women have difficulties. We encounter problems in jobs where we're paid less than men. We encounter problems in our family, where we should be loved, in education, and so many other fields where women must be brave. The definition of woman is an adult female human being. I want to take some time and make you reflect on this. The definition clearly says that we are humans, but why people, especially men, treat women like objects? It is unfair and discriminatory to judge us without knowing our capacities. One time I read, "Don't judge a book by its cover." Therefore now I'm here delivering this speech, and I want to say to you to do not judge us. Whitney Houston said this sentence. I really appreciate this woman since I was little. She had a tough life. And with her death, everyone was shocked, but in reality, everybody knows the story behind her death. Once she said, I like being a woman, even in a man's world. After all, men can't wear dresses, but we can wear pants. This quote made me realize a lot. She was true. We can wear pants. We can stand out and make sure that every woman has a position and a personal opinion. Access to education and political participation is denied to women, and some are trapped in conflicts where rape is perpetrated as a weapon of war. Education is the light to which everybody has equal right. Men, women, both are endowed with bright and noble faculties. So, education cannot be an exclusive possession of any class or sex. women, female delegates, officers, MUN directors, guests, every woman in this room, please stand out and be who you are. I wish you all a fruitful debate in which I'm sure you will be able to find many solutions to our problems in each committee, working all together. I yield the floor back to the Master of Ceremony.
Thank you, Victoria. I would now like to yield the floor to the Secretary General of DISminiMUN, Alice Marrucci.
Thank you for the floor, dear Master of Ceremony, fellow board members, honorable chairs, members of the International Court of Justice, dear delegates, esteemed MUN directors and guests, good morning. My name is Alice Marrucci, I'm 14 years old, and I'm currently attending my first year of high school at the Leda International School in Genoa, Italy. And I'm honored to be here today and serve as Secretary General for DISminiMUN online conference. During this difficult time of lockdown, I began to think how lucky we all are. During this difficult time, I understood how important things that I gave for granted are. Going to school, hanging out with my friends, or just going for a walk. These were all part of our ordinary life, and only now I understand their importance and value. During a time in which it seems like the UN human rights are violated by a common enemy, the coronavirus, I understand their importance, and I wonder how difficult it would be not to have them granted in my ordinary life. This is why, together with my wonderful team, we decided to organize a conference talking about them. In the world, there are way too many people who do not have the freedom to express their ideas, who are not able to profess what they believe in, who are not able to be themselves, and this must be stopped now. Just imagine how you would feel and how different your life would be if you were deprived of the human rights. Well, you certainly wouldn't be here, but you had the possibility to choose to be here, and it is now your duty to debate and find ways to grant people safety, freedom, and cultural heritage, and most of all, a dignitous lifestyle, until justice rolls down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream, as Martin Luther King said. Dear delegates, chairs, and members of the International Court of Justice, I'm addressing to you. We are the future generation, and we can make a change in this world in which, depending on where you were born, you have someone telling you what to do who deprives you from the human rights, which you should have gained with birth. We, the future generation, can make the difference, and we have to do it to grant all the people their human rights, their safety, and their freedom. I wish you all a fruitful debate, and I hope you will be able to find effective solutions in order to improve the life of humankind. Thank you. I yield the floor back to the Masters.
Thank you, Alice. We'll now entertain speeches from the participating schools. Delegation of Belgium, Deutsche School, Barcelona, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Honorable Board, esteemed chairs, fellow delegates, and members of the International Court of Justice, distinguished guests, staff, security, and press. Good morning. The delegation of the Kingdom of Belgium is delighted to be part of the first online DISminiMUN conference. The topic of this conference, the human rights, is still a big issue in our modern world. We believe that the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in Paris in December 1948 was and is one of the biggest milestones in the history of humanity. Unfortunately, they are really fragile, and there are many countries where their citizens cannot enjoy them. This was also increased by this pandemic of COVID-19. This is the reason why we came, well, no, we don't came, but we are here to debate these topics and find a good and sustainable solution for all problems, especially the ones in least economic developed countries that are now in a particular vulnerable situation. Let us have great debates. Let's work together for a better world. Thank you. The floor is yours back to the Master of Ceremonies.
Thank you. Delegation of Brasil, Liceo Linguistico Internazionale Grazia Deledda, the floor is yours.
Honorable chairs and fellow delegates, good morning. The delegation of Brazil is honored to be here to take part in such a constructive debate, even in these hard times, coronavirus, which is a disease that's spreading all over the world, to discuss about human rights, and in particular, an important topic such women education and early disease. Fortunately, in Brazil, the literacy rate is 90% among all the population, and they would like to help those countries where at the age of 4, girls start to assume household tasks, take care of their little brothers and sisters, and replace their mothers in the house when they are engaged in agricultural work. Children in LADCs have to work to help their families, and LADCs spend significantly less money on education as comparison to their MEDC counterparts. As a result of the poor conditions described above, as well as additional stress factors for many children, especially girls, attending classes becomes a traumatic activity. Because of lack of funding, spotty student attendance, and lack of classrooms and furnishings, implementing curriculums dealing with the global biodiversity crisis into the LADC's classroom is not as easy as in MEDCs. The delegation of Brazil recognizes the role of education expanded to everyone, both male and female, in order to have equal access to it. We wish a constructive and fruitful debate. Thank you. The floor is yielded back to the chairs.
Thank you. We'll now yield the floor to China, the delegation of China.
Thank you, MLC. This is DISminiMUN from India. I'm representing China in this conference. I'm here to discuss the roles of MUNs in shaping the future of the children. Before I start, I would like to thank the organizers of this MUN for giving me an opportunity to present my views. It has been commonly observed that the old generation has got a habit of getting involved in the blame game against their own children. It's very oftenly heard that children are wasting their time in useless activities and not devoting their time to studies. But it's my firm conviction that in this time and in the times to come, degrees will be dealing from jobs, and the individuals possessing practical skills will reach the top. MUNs go a long way in preparing their children to face the challenges of their adult life when they grow up. By participating in the MUNs at any level, children learn the basic skills. They learn the principles of democracy and political science. The delegates sitting in this MUNs are the future diplomats. Nobody knows one of them may acquire the status of the Secretary General of United Nations after 3 or 4 decades. The participants of MUNs learn to socialize and arrive at conclusions in groups when they are preparing a draft resolution or a working paper. They learn to deliver flawless speech, which is based on extensive research. The research conducting for MUN stimulates the mind to think constructively on various issues which may be highly controversial. This training simulation of mind will help them to adjust in difficult situations in their adulthood. At this point of time, I would like to give the commonly accepted definition of intelligence: the ability to adjust in new set of conditions. Participation in general speakers lists and moderated caucus helps the children shed fear of speaking publicly and open their hearts and minds even in the presence of opponents. The MUN trains the children to respect the opinion of opponents and even enemies, and to deliberate with them and to arrive at an acceptable solutions to any problem or issue, which may be bilateral or multilateral. MUNs help to spread the message of peace in this world, which is torn into blocks and sitting on heaps of nuclear arsenals. The nations are boasting of their power to destroy the humanity and deriving utmost satisfaction from this. At this point of time, if the children learn the lesson of peace and harmony, the future of humanity will be safe. So I exhort the children to come up in huge numbers and participate in the MUNs. I also suggest the fellow children to convince their parents that participation in MUNs is not the wastage of time, but is utilization of time to the maximum advantage of the growing children. At last, I wish, may peace prevail in the world. May there be harmony amongst the nations and the societies. May the world get rid of terrorists and nuclear arsenals. Thank you.
Thank you.
I yield the floor back to MLC.
I'll now yield the floor to the delegation of Egypt.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, for the floor. Estimated board members, honorable chair, fellow delegates, ICBM members, distinguished Moon director, and guests, good morning. I am Olimpia Piombo, and I am attending the German School of Genoa. I am honored to represent Egypt for UNESCO. Our three main topics are: first, protection of cultural heritage in times of armed conflicts; second, measures to improve women's education in LADC; third, eradicating violent actions based on religious mandate. We invite you to support our councils and commissions because they are important for ensuring the development of the country. Thank you. I yield the floor back to the Master of Ceremony.
Thank you. I'll now yield the floor to the delegation of Estonia. As we could not reach the delegation of Estonia, I'll now yield the floor to the delegation of Niger.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Chetan Bhardwaj from India, and I'm pleased to get this opportunity to share a few words at the opening ceremony of the DISminiMUN. First of all, I would like to express my heartfelt condolences for the loss of every Italian from the ongoing coronavirus pandemic on behalf of my whole country, and hope for a better cooperation between the two countries to tackle the disease. Well, I would like to start by thanking the organizing committee for providing an opportunity to participants from different countries like me to share their thoughts and insights for the what? Anyone pointing out any question there? Okay, so I was telling I would like to thank the organizing committee for providing an opportunity to participants like me for different countries to share our thoughts and insights for the betterment of this world. And as we know, over the next 2 days, we will be connecting through Zoom meetings and will be helping each other in pursuing the skills we are interested in learning. I really hope this conference in 2 days will help each one of us in developing our personality and some life-changing skills like leadership development and effective communication. At last, the commitment shown by the organizing committee is really great. As we know, great efforts went in preparing for this day because preparation could not happen overnight. So let all of us appreciate the efforts of all the members working hard to make the conference successful by having some fruitful and logical debates. And with all that, I am signing off and wishing the conference every success. Thank you.
Thank you. And now yield the floor to the delegation of United Arab Emirates. As we could not reach the delegation of United Arab Emirates, I will now yield the floor to the delegation of United Kingdom.
Fellow delegates and distinguished guests, it's a pleasure for me to take part in DISminiMUN 2020 and to welcome you. United Kingdom is grateful to have the opportunity to participate to this conference, especially because we think it can be a demonstration of how we can be united, staying each one in his own home, and how we can be positive and productive despite this dramatic situation. This year, DISminiMUN is addressing some very important topic, the protection of cultural and property in times of armed conflicts, improving women education in healthy disease, and eradicating violent action based on on religious mandate. All these issues which we are going to discuss on might seem far from our lives and our interests, but instead they concern us more than you would think, because we all live in the same world. Everything around us
the works of art, the cultural patrimony, but also the nature, like woods or forest, belongs to us and to all people on Earth. And for this reason, we have to think about how to protect and safeguard them. We also have to discuss about how to mitigate gender inequalities and religious conflicts, two important and delicate problems that humanity disease are far to be solved, but that concern us too, in subtle way. In simple episode, for example, in a simple episode of our everyday lives. We have to remember that our main goals must increase not just ourselves, but also for the future generation in order to preserve the place where we live and to change our way of thinking. If we do not start improving now, we cannot think something is going to change in the next years. A special thanks goes to all teachers and students from Liceo Grazia Deledda who worked hard to make this conference possible. Delegates, I wish all of you have an amusing and satisfying debate. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now yield the floor to the delegation of the United States.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony. Honorable chairs and board, fellow delegates, members of the ICJ, distinguished guests. To all of you, we are thrilled that through perseverance and passion, we managed to organize and, let me say, build an MUN conference. Our boards, my friends, all the delegates, all lovely teachers. It's been a pleasure to experience distance working and to have come to this point. We imagine we are all very concerned about the COVID emergence we are all facing for a few months. But as long as human ingenuity might get crippled by the odds of nature, we managed quite well. The topic of the conference is human rights, and we think it is a good time to question how the human rights were implemented in this period. Lockdowns, face masks, distancing, schooling, and all the organization that we have in our society. Those are all essential aspects also for protecting ourselves. There are a lot of stories that flow into our lives and human rights violated day to day. But as we fondly appraise the opinion of Alberto Damiano, my headmaster, and all of the above, we must not raise polemics, complaints, and blames, because this is not taking us anywhere. We know that some of you might be wondering why they are not enjoying the sun right now. But guys, we got to moon and we got to have this beautiful experience, beautiful opportunity to be part of this event. So thank you all. God bless America. God bless MUN. And we yield the floor back to the Master of Ceremony.
Thank you, delegation of the United States. I'll now yield the floor to the delegation of the United States from German School of Thessaloniki.
Honorable Secretariat, esteemed chairs, fellow delegates, and distinguished guests, my name is Maria Pandria. I am 15 years old and a student at the German School of Thessaloniki in Greece, which I also have the privilege to represent today. On behalf of all participants from my school, I deem the invitation to this conference a great honor and would like to extend my thanks to the IBO World School in Genoa for it. Though the 5th MUN conference I personally attend, the DISminiMUN is bound to be the most interesting so far due to the current circumstances. As a matter of fact, mankind is living through a series of completely unprecedented and dangerous events it was critically unprepared for, the fatal outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. I, in my school's stead, note with deep regret the damage caused by the coronavirus outbreak and the only partly compelling measures taken to tackle its further spread. It is, indeed, during times of crisis as such, that the human rights of individuals are often devalued, overlooked, and most commonly violated. It is our duty as future citizens of this world to prevent such a dystopic outcome. The DISminiMUN's main topic this year is an opportunity for us all to view the value of human rights from an alternate perspective. I, as a delegate of the United States of America, participate in the Social and Humanitarian Committee, the second topic of which is ensuring the resilience of the poor and reducing the vulnerability to the COVID-19. Conducting research on this contemporary topic, trying to find possible ways to help the destitute, and the thought-provoking, fruitful debate I am to engage in shortly after the speech have been and will be both a thrill and a learning experience for me. I am more than glad to attend such a special conference, to become acquainted with my peers from foreign to me countries, and on top of all, to contribute, as negligible as my contribution might be, to the spreading of awareness regarding the immense importance of protection of human rights at all expenses. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now yield the floor to the delegation of the United States.
Honorable chairs, fellow delegates, hardworking staff, and distinguished guests, the liceo-linguistico Alessandro Manzoni from Milan is sincerely honored to be on this platform to debate the DISminiMUN. Over the years, MUN has proven to be an opportunity for students from all over the world to debate and learn, as well as to place themselves in a context of international cooperation. We, as a school, want to contribute to this conference by making the debates as fruitful as possible and by taking part in the decision-making and solution-finding process in a way such that we all may come together to tackle the defining issues of our time, not as individual countries left to their own devices, but as a renewed concert of nations, capable of dealing more swiftly, decisively, and effectively. This, we believe, is the purpose of Model MUN and the spirit behind our approach to Model MUN. In this period of quarantine and global health emergency, we think it is very important to continue holding MUN conferences like this that will help us to take action and deal with international issues now and in the future, but also help informing what is going to be the passion and principle ruling class of tomorrow. Finally, we would like to thank the Deleda International School for giving us the opportunity to participate in this MUN conference, despite the difficulties of doing so online, a situation which was caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. We yield the floor back to the chairs.
Thank you. Once again, I leave the floor to the Secretary General of this conference, Alice Merlich.
Dear participants, thank you all for being here today. It is a pleasure of mine to declare DISminiMUN officially open. Okay, so we are now gonna divide you in the breakout rooms, and we will start the debating sessions with the login time.
ICJ, you can leave and you can go in your room.
Yes,
we
thank
are proud, and thank you for being here, everybody.